So, my name's John Cataldo, and I'm running for alderman in our ward. Right now it's an open seat, and a little bit about myself. I grew up in Goffstown, but I went to school here in Manchester, and then when I was in high school, my parents moved us to Manchester, actually here in Ward 8, they moved us into Phillips Glen. And then I stayed local even for college. I went to St. A's up the road, and I majored in biology there. And throughout high school and college, and within my family, volunteerism was a strong value that was instilled upon me. Service, public service, giving back. And when I graduated, I did a year of volunteer work on the Northern Cheyenne Reservation in Montana. And I came back home to Manchester because I love Manchester, and I never wanted to leave. Even growing up, when my friends in school were talking about, all they wanted to do when they got out of school was move out of Manchester. All I wanted to do was stay, and people might have called me crazy at the time, but even now, with everything going on in the city, like Lisa mentioned, you have aldermen who are continuing to break their faith, the trust with the voters. You have a school system that's unfortunately lagging behind surrounding districts, and the drug crisis is another issue that a lot of people are concerned about. Even with all that, I'm here to tell you that I'm here to stay, and I'm all in, and because I love this city, and I want to bring back the city that I remember, that I grew up with. That is so great, and even now we have so much potential. I think we have even greater potential than we've ever had. We have the technology boom that's occurring in the mills. You have all these wonderful companies that are moving into the mills and reinventing the mills. I use the word resilience. This city is known for its resilience. It's been said that of the city that it's a city that won't die, because we're constantly reinventing ourselves. Just when everyone is ready to say, you know what, sorry Manchester, you lost your chance, but Manchester figures out a way to reinvent itself and come back. And I think right now is another moment that we have in our history to do just that. But we need leaders in City Hall who are going to know how to tap that potential. And that's one of the reasons I got in, because I saw that opportunity, I saw that Manchester has, and also that in our ward, in Ward 8 here, we weren't being well represented. I felt as though we deserve an alderman who's going to be accountable and present, and most importantly, listen to what the voters say, and not be ignored, or not ignore the voters and the residents here. And the other thing too I want to stress is it's time that I feel like we do a better job coming together as a city and compromising, because we're a small city. I'm sure many of you here, like myself, if you're from Manchester, or even if you're not, you go around, you see a lot of people, that you go out to the store and you might run into somebody It's not unusual, and so to me, we're too small of a city to retreat to partisan sides. We have to come together to solve, if we want to be able to solve the tough issues like the drug crisis. So the drug crisis will be a top priority of mine, absolutely, because it affects all of us. It affects the whole city. And we can't move on until we solve that. Something else that I'm hearing while I'm going around door knocking is that people really want to see a fresh face and fresh perspective in City Hall. This is my first time running, so I hope you're bearing with me here. This is my first time into politics, if you could say that. Really, it's public service, though, for me. It's just not my first time. I really want to give back to the community, and this is how I want to do it, and serve everyone. So, that being said, like I mentioned before, I want to listen. So if there's any questions, I'll open up to any questions anybody has. Anybody? Go ahead.
Just out of curiosity, I've dealt with aldermen in the past. It's been a few years since I was in a position to do that. However, when I did, comment I got from this specific alderman was don't rock the boat. That's not very service-oriented.
No,
Not when you're dealing, and at the time, I was dealing with an organization that was keeping children off the streets. And that was what we got.
no.
And that
yeah,
was
that's
just
awful.
unacceptable.
No, you shouldn't.
So I have very bad taste for any politician in my mouth.
Well, one thing that I'm really hoping to do is, and I'm sorry you had that experience, to change the narrative, to prove the narrative wrong, that be an example. Really, I would love to get in there. I really hope I get the opportunity to show yourself and everyone else what true leadership looks like. And that's not what true leadership looks like. Absolutely not. You shouldn't be told that, because good leaders aren't intimidated. They're not afraid to rock the boat. Good leaders also know that they don't know everything, and that they need to reach out to other people who may know more than they do about a topic. And so that's unfortunate. I'm sorry you had that experience, and no, I really hope I get the opportunity to be an example of something different.
Don't get me wrong, I do my civic duty because the young men and women of our country gave their life for me to have that right and for me to vote
Yes.
my freedoms. But it doesn't help give you a good feeling about dealing with politicians when they're not there to back you when they need to be.
I mean, show of hands, what are some issues that are important to people? Are taxes an important issue? Keeping taxes low. One of the things about the charter that Lisa mentioned is the charter calls for a tax cap or spending cap, and every time the aldermen override that, there's an increase in property taxes and an increase in taxes, and I think that is not maybe a direct way of ignoring somebody, but in a way it is. It's an indirect way, because the voters of Manchester voted for a tax cap, and every time an alderman, unless it's a public safety reason, go in and override that, say for salaries or things like that, that's saying to the voter, I know better than you, or I'm ignoring what you wanted, and I'm going to do what I think is best. So taxes, the drug crisis, so people concerned about that. I'm sure.
Services for seniors.
Services for seniors, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. And you want to introduce?
I will introduce Jimmy. Actually,
you.
thank you very much, Don.